The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with barely a whisper. Inside, 3 diplomats from the Galactic Council reviewed their assignment files one last time. This was supposed to be routine. Humanity had submitted their application for membership 6 months ago, and the Council always sent evaluators to verify that new species met basic civilization standards. Check their government facilities, review their technology, assess their social structures, and file a report. Simple. Reth tapped his data pad with one of his 4 fingers. His insectoid eyes scanned the information again. Humans, carbon-based bipeds from a Class M planet. They had discovered faster-than-light travel only 3 years ago. Young species, probably eager to prove themselves. He had done 47 of these evaluations. They all followed the same pattern. Beside him, Ula shifted in her mobility suit. The water inside swirled with her movement. She was an empath able to sense emotional currents from other beings. It made her valuable for these assessments. She could detect if species were hiding aggression or instability. So far, the emotional readings from Earth seemed normal enough. Curiosity, excitement, hope. Bryn hummed softly, his crystalline body catching the light from the viewport. He processed information through vibration and resonance. He had already analyzed Earth's communication frequencies, its music, its spoken languages. Everything suggested a typical developing civilization, nothing unusual. The shuttle landed in what their navigation system identified as a residential area. Reth checked his pad again. That could not be right. They were supposed to meet at a government complex. He recalibrated the coordinates. No error. The human representative had specifically requested they come to this address. They stepped out onto something called a driveway. Reth looked around, his multiple eyes taking in the scene. Rows of similar structures lined a paved path. Small controlled vegetation plots surrounded each building. Temperature was comfortable. Atmosphere contained appropriate oxygen levels. But where was the official facility? A door opened in the structure before them. A human male emerged, descending a short set of steps. He wore casual fabric coverings, not formal diplomatic attire. His face displayed what Reth's cultural database identified as a smile. "Hello, you must be the council representatives. I'm David Walsh. Welcome to Earth." Reth's antennae twitched. "We were expecting to meet at your governmental headquarters." David's smile grew wider. "Oh, I know. But I told them if the council wants to understand humanity, they should see how we actually live, not some sterile conference room. Come on in." The 3 aliens exchanged glances. This was highly irregular, but their mission parameters did include cultural assessment. Perhaps this was some kind of human custom. They followed David toward the structure's entrance. Ula's sensors suddenly spiked. Multiple biological signatures, different species, all inside the same dwelling. Her suit rippled with confusion. "David Walsh," she said, her voice bubbling through her translator. "Our sensors detect numerous life forms inside your residence. Is this a multi-species habitat facility?" David laughed. The sound seemed genuine, not threatening. "Multi-species, I guess you could call it that. It's my home. I live here with my family." He opened the door. Everything stopped. Reth's entire body went rigid. Every threat assessment system in his neural network activated simultaneously. His antennae locked into alert position. Inside the human dwelling, clearly visible through the open doorway, were multiple animal species, together, in close proximity. A large quadruped with golden fur sat near the entrance. Reth's database identified it as a canine, predator species, domesticated variant but still possessing fully functional teeth and hunting instincts. On a piece of elevated furniture, a smaller feline lounged. Another predator, obligate carnivore, independent hunter. And moving freely across the floor covering was a lagomorph, a prey species, white and brown fur, long ears, evolved specifically to flee from predators. Ula's empathic sensors overloaded. She was reading emotions from all of them simultaneously. The canine, loyalty, affection, curiosity. The feline, contentment, mild interest. The lagomorph, comfort, safety. No fear, no terror, no prey-stress responses. Impossible. Bryn's crystalline structure began vibrating at distress frequencies. His analysis of the situation produced contradictory results. Predator and prey did not coexist peacefully. This violated fundamental evolutionary principles. Every advanced species in the galaxy had learned this. You separated biological categories. You controlled environments. You maintained order. "Is something wrong?" David asked, noticing their frozen postures. Reth finally managed to activate his translator. "The animals, inside your dwelling. This is your residence, not a containment facility." "Containment? No, no, these are my pets. Well, that's Rusty, our dog, that's Pepper, our cat, and the rabbit is named Clover. She belongs to my daughter, but we all take care of her." Pets. Reth searched his database. The translation came through, but the concept made no sense. Animals kept for companionship, not food production, not labor, not research, just companionship. The canine stood and walked toward them. Ula's suit flashed warning colors, but the animal simply sat down a few feet away, its tail moving in rhythmic sweeps. Its emotional signature read, friendly, welcoming, protective of the human but not aggressive toward strangers. "Rusty, stay," David said calmly. The predator immediately ceased movement, voice command response, voluntary compliance. David stepped fully inside and gestured for them to enter. "Come in, please. I promise everyone here is friendly. We don't bite." He paused. "Well, I mean, technically some of them could, but they won't." Reth looked at his colleagues. Ula's suit was still rippling with confused colors. Bryn was humming uncertainty tones, but they had a mission to complete. Slowly, carefully, they stepped across the threshold into the human dwelling. The moment they entered, their entire understanding of civilization shifted. This was not just irregular. This was impossible, and yet it was happening. The interior of David's home overwhelmed their senses in ways no briefing had prepared them for. Reth's eyes darted between every surface, cataloging details his training said should not exist together. Soft fabric-covered furniture designed for comfort rather than efficiency. Images displayed on walls showing humans with various animals. Decorative objects with no apparent function. And everywhere, signs of the three species coexisting. A shallow bowl near the entrance held water. Next to it sat another bowl with small brown pellets. "Food for the canine," David explained. Nearby, a vertical structure covered in rough fabric reached toward the ceiling, the feline's climbing apparatus, and in the corner, a spacious enclosure with soft bedding and small tunnels. The lagomorph's living space, though the animal currently hopped freely across the room. "Please sit down," David offered, gesturing to the seating furniture. Bryn lowered himself carefully onto what David called a couch. The material compressed under his weight and then supported him. Designed for biological comfort, his crystalline structure detected no defensive mechanisms, no containment fields, no safety barriers between the living areas and the animals. Ula chose a chair near the window, positioning herself where she could observe everything. Her empathic senses were still processing the emotional landscape of this place. It was unlike anything she had encountered. The animals radiated feelings she had only associated with family groups: belonging, security, love. Reth remained standing, his antennae constantly adjusting to track movement. The canine had followed David and now sat beside him, its large head level with the human's hand. David absently stroked the animal's fur, a gesture of affection. The predator leaned into the touch, its emotional signature showing pleasure. "I know this must seem strange to you," David said. "Your briefing materials mention that most galactic species don't keep animals in their homes." "Most species do not keep predators and prey in the same enclosed space," Reth corrected. It is not simply unusual, it is contradictory to basic survival instincts. David smiled again. That expression seemed to be his default response to confusion. I guess when you put it that way, it does sound weird, but for us, it's completely normal. Humans have been keeping dogs for something like 30,000 years, cats for about 10,000, rabbits are more recent, but still centuries old. 30,000 years. Reth calculated quickly. That predated most human civilizations. This was not a recent cultural development. This was embedded deep in their species' history. The feline dropped down from its elevated perch and walked across the floor with deliberate grace. It approached Ula's chair. She tensed, her suit cycling through nervous purple shades. The animal paused, seemed to assess her, and then jumped directly onto her lap. Ula went completely still. The feline circled once, twice, then settled into a curled position on her suit's surface. Through the transparent material, she could see its eyes slowly closing. Its emotional signature shifted to contentment, deep satisfaction. It was treating her mobility suit like the soft furniture. "Oh, Pepper likes you," David said cheerfully. "She's usually shy with strangers." Ula did not know how to respond. A predator had chosen her as a resting place, voluntarily, without aggression or hunting behavior. Her empathic training had not covered this scenario. The lagomorph hopped closer to Reth. He tracked its movement with all his eyes. Prey species typically fled from unknown entities. Survival instinct demanded it, but this creature showed no fear. It approached within touching distance, sniffed the air near his legs, and then continued hopping toward the structure David had called a kitchen. "Clover's probably hopping someone will give her treats," David explained. "She's learned that new people sometimes mean extra snacks. Smart girl." The prey animal has learned to approach strangers for food. Bryn's vibrations took on a puzzled frequency. It does not fear unfamiliar beings. Fear us? Why would she? We've never given her a reason to be afraid. She's been part of our family since she was 8 weeks old. My daughter, Amy, picked her out at the animal shelter. Clover knows she's safe here. Animal shelter, another term that needed explanation. David seemed happy to provide it. Facilities where humans cared for animals without owners, fed them, gave them medical treatment, then found them new homes. No profit motive, no resource extraction, pure altruism toward other species. Reth's analytical mind struggled with the implications. His species had domesticated exactly 3 organisms: food plants that grew efficiently in controlled environments, microorganisms that processed waste, and a small insect that produced useful chemicals. All selected for utility, all kept in designated facilities. Humans had apparently domesticated dozens of species for the sole purpose of sharing living space with them. "Does your government know you house these animals?" Reth asked. David laughed. "No, there are laws about it. We have regulations ensuring animals are treated well. Veterinarians licensed to provide medical care. Pet stores where you can buy supplies. Insurance for animals. It's a whole industry. There are more pet dogs and cats in America alone than there are people in most countries." The numbers staggered Reth. Billions of animals living in homes with humans voluntarily on both sides. A new sound emerged from elsewhere in the structure. Young human vocalizations. High-pitched, energetic footsteps on stairs. "Oh, that's Amy coming home from school," David said, standing up. The canine immediately rose with him, tail moving faster. A small human female burst into the room. She carried a bag on her back and wore bright clothing. Her eyes widened when she saw the aliens. "Dad, they're here, the space ambassadors." She dropped her bag and ran forward without hesitation. Every alarm in Reth's system activated. A human juvenile, approaching unknown aliens. Where was the parental protection response? But David just smiled, and the child ran right up to them, her face full of wonder and joy. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "I'm Amy. Do you want to meet Clover? She's really soft." Amy moved with confidence, scooping up the rabbit from the floor and cradling it against her chest with practiced ease. The rabbit's long ears folded back slightly, but it showed no distress. "This is Clover," Amy announced. "I got her 6 months ago. She's really good at tricks. Watch." She set the rabbit down and pulled a carrot piece from her pocket. The rabbit rose onto its hind legs, balancing perfectly, its small front paws reaching upward. Ula's sensors registered the emotional exchange. The child's joy and pride, the rabbit's focus and trust, a trained behavior performed willingly for reward. "She's really smart," Amy agreed, giving Clover the treat. "All animals are smart." David rested a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Amy wants to become a veterinarian. She reads everything about animal behavior." "Veterinarian," Reth queried. "Animal doctor," Amy explained. "Someone who helps sick animals. We took Clover to Dr. Rodriguez last month. She got vaccines. She's very healthy." "Medical care. For animals, preventative medicine, regular health assessments." Reth added this to his growing file of impossible human behaviors. The canine had moved closer to Amy, positioning itself between the child and the aliens. Not aggressive, but watchful, protective. Ula read the emotions clearly. The animal saw the young human as part of its pack, something to guard and defend. "Rusty always does that when new people are around," Amy said, noticing the dog's posture. "He's protective, but he's really gentle. Want to pet him?" She did not wait for an answer. She took Reth's lower arm with her small hands and guided it toward the canine's head. Reth's instincts screamed warnings. Contact with predator. Mouth distance dangerous. Teeth proximity critical. But Amy's touch was gentle and confident. And when Reth's fingers made contact with the canine's fur, something unexpected happened. The animal's emotional signature changed. Pleasure. Contentment. Its eyes closed partially and it leaned into the touch. The texture surprised Reth. Soft. Warm. The animal's body heat radiated against his palm. He could feel the steady rhythm of its breathing. A living creature, allowing him to touch it, showing no fear or aggression. "See, he likes you," Amy said happily. A new human entered through another doorway. Female adult. Similar features to David suggested genetic relationship. She wore professional attire and carried a bag over her shoulder. "I'm home," she called, then stopped when she saw the aliens. "Oh, you're here already. I'm Grace, David's wife. Sorry I'm late. Hospital shift ran over." Hospital medical facility. Grace worked in healthcare for humans, David explained. She was a nurse, another caring profession. Reth noted the pattern emerging. Grace set down her bag and immediately moved to greet them properly. No fear, no hesitation, just friendly welcome. The canine went to her, tail moving vigorously, and she bent to embrace it. Physical affection, the same gesture she would use with family. "Has David been overwhelming you with our zoo?" Grace asked, smiling. "He gets excited showing off our animals." "Zoo?" Bryn questioned. "Just an expression. We only have 3 pets. Some families have more. My sister has 2 dogs, 3 cats, a parrot, and a tank full of fish." Multiple predators, multiple species in one dwelling, voluntarily. "Why?" the question burst from Reth before he could stop it. "Why do humans do this? What is the purpose? What do you gain?" Grace and David exchanged glances. Amy looked up at the aliens with confusion on her young face. "What do we gain?" Grace repeated slowly. "I'm not sure I understand the question." "Resources," Reth clarified. "Protection, labor. What function do these animals serve that justifies the expense of maintaining them?" Silence filled the room. The humans seemed genuinely puzzled by the question. Amy spoke first, her voice small but certain. "They're our family." "Family," Ula echoed. "But they are different species. You share no genetic material, no evolutionary lineage." So, Amy looked at the rabbit now resting in its enclosure. Clover loves me. I love her. That makes us family. David knelt down beside his daughter. For humans, family isn't just about biology, it's about connection, care, shared lives. These animals depend on us and we depend on them. They make our lives better just by being in them. Better how? Reth pressed. Quantify the benefit. Grace laughed softly. You can't quantify love. When I come home after a hard day at the hospital and Rusty greets me like I'm the most important person in the world, that matters. When Amy cuddles with Clover and tells her about her day at school, that matters. When Pepper curls up on the couch with us during movie night, that matters. Emotional benefits, Bryn translated. Psychological support, companionship. Yes, David agreed. But it's more than that. They teach us responsibility, empathy. Amy has learned to think about another creature's needs before her own. She's learned that being bigger and smarter doesn't mean you control others. It means you protect them. Amy nodded seriously. Mrs. Patterson says humans are supposed to be guardians of Earth. That means taking care of all the animals and plants, not just ourselves. Guardian protector, caretaker, not conqueror, not master. Reth's understanding of humanity shifted again. This was not about dominance or control. This was about something his species had never considered. This was about choosing to be responsible for those weaker than yourself. Grace moved into the kitchen and the aliens heard food preparation sounds. David invited them to stay for dinner. Reth's protocols said to accept cultural offerings. They agreed, though none could consume human food. No problem, David said. Amy set the table while the canine followed her movements. They had synchronized patterns. So your sister has fish? Ula asked Grace. Grace nodded, stirring a heated container. A whole aquarium, tropical fish. She maintains the water chemistry carefully. It's like having ocean in your living room. But fish cannot provide companionship, Bryn observed. They do not respond to interaction like mammals. Tell that to my sister, Grace laughed. She talks to them every day. She knows each one by name, and she swears they recognize her. When she approaches the tank, they swim to the front. David joined the conversation while setting drinking vessels on the table. Humans keep all kinds of animals as pets, birds that can learn to speak, reptiles like snakes and lizards, amphibians, insects even. There are people who keep tarantulas. Tarantulas. Reth's database provided information. Arachnids, venomous, predatory. Humans voluntarily shared space with venomous predators. Why would someone maintain a venomous creature in their dwelling? Reth asked. Same reason we have any pets, David replied. Connection, interest. Some people find them beautiful. They appreciate the complexity of their behavior. And honestly, most pet tarantulas are pretty harmless to humans. Their venom isn't dangerous to us. The meal preparation continued. Grace worked efficiently, combining ingredients. Reth's analyzers identified proteins, carbohydrates, plant matter. The humans were creating what they called cooking. Art and sustenance combined. Amy pulled green leafy matter from the refrigeration unit and started washing it. That's for Clover, she explained. Fresh vegetables every day. Rabbits need fiber. I change her water twice daily. Daily care routines. The child had accepted responsibility without resentment. Her emotional signature showed pride. The family sat down to eat. The aliens positioned themselves nearby but did not join in consuming food. Reth observed the ritual closely. The humans did not simply fuel their bodies. They shared the experience, talked, laughed, connected. And the animals participated in their own way. The canine rested under the table, near Amy's feet. The feline had claimed a windowsill where it could watch both the room and the world outside. The rabbit remained in its enclosure, contentedly eating the vegetables Amy had prepared. Tell me about the animal shelter, Ula requested. Where Amy obtained the rabbit, How does such a facility function? Amy's face brightened. She loved this topic. It's a place where people bring animals that need homes. Sometimes people can't take care of their pets anymore. Sometimes animals are found outside with no family. The shelter workers feed them and keep them safe until someone adopts them. Adopts, Bryn queried. Takes them home to be part of their family, David clarified. There are thousands of shelters across the country. Millions of animals get adopted every year. But there are also millions who don't find homes. It's a problem we're still working on. A problem, Reth repeated. You consider it problematic that not all displaced animals receive homes. Grace nodded seriously. Of course, every animal deserves a safe place and people who care about them. That's why we volunteer at our local shelter twice a month. We help socialize the animals, clean their spaces, and sometimes we foster them. Foster. Temporarily house them in our home until they find permanent families, David explained. We've fostered probably 15 dogs and cats over the years. It's hard sometimes, getting attached and then saying goodbye. But it's worth it to know they found good homes. The concept overwhelmed Reth. Humans taking animals into their homes, providing care, then releasing them to other humans. No compensation, no required exchange, just voluntary assistance to creatures of other species. Through the kitchen window, Reth could see into the outdoor space behind the dwelling. His eyes focused on structures there. A wooden enclosure, movement inside. What is that? He asked, pointing. Oh, the chicken coop, Amy jumped up. Want to see? We have 6 chickens. Before the aliens could respond, the young human had opened the door to outside and was gesturing for them to follow. David and Grace exchanged amused glances and stood to accompany them. The backyard was larger than Reth expected, carefully maintained vegetation, decorative plants arranged aesthetically, and multiple animal habitats. The chicken enclosure Amy mentioned, a water feature with movement inside, structures mounted on trees. Amy ran to the chicken coop and opened a small door. Several birds emerged, making vocalizations. They scattered across the grass, pecking at the ground. These are our girls, Amy said proudly. That's Henrietta, that's Nugget, that's Scrambles, Poach, Sunny, and Benedict. You have named them all, Ula observed. Of course, they're individuals, they have different personalities. Henrietta is bossy, Nugget is shy, Benedict likes to be picked up and cuddled. The child demonstrated, scooping up one of the birds. It settled in her arms without struggle, making soft clucking sounds. Grace pointed to the water feature. That's our koi pond. We have 8 fish. They're beautiful and surprisingly interactive. They come to the surface when we approach. David gestured to the tree structures. Bird feeders. We keep them stocked year-round. And that box is for bats. They're important for insect control and pollination. Bats, flying mammals, nocturnal hunters. Humans were attracting them deliberately. You create habitats for wild animals, Bryn asked. Sure, David said. We share this space with nature. The more diverse the ecosystem, the healthier it is. We plant flowers that attract bees and butterflies. We leave parts of the yard wild for small mammals and insects. It's all connected. Everything was connected. The phrase resonated in Reth's mind. Humans saw themselves as part of nature, not separate from it. Evening settled over the Walsh home. Amy asked if the aliens wanted to see her room. Grace nodded permission. The young human led them upstairs. Her room was smaller, but every surface told a story. Walls displayed images of animals from across Earth. That's a snow leopard, Amy said, pointing to a poster. They're endangered, only about 4,000 left in the wild. People are working to protect them. Endangered, Reth accessed the term, species at risk of extinction, and humans were actively trying to prevent that. Why? The question came from Bryn this time. If a species cannot survive environmental pressures, Natural selection suggests it should be allowed to decline. Amy looked at him with an expression that reminded Reth of how teachers looked at students who had missed an obvious point, but were the reason they're endangered. Humans hunted them and destroyed their habitat, so it's our job to fix it. She moved to her desk and pulled out a book. The cover displayed a tiger. There used to be 100,000 tigers, now less than 4,000, but conservation programs are helping. Numbers are slowly increasing because people protect their habitats. Conservation, protection, restoration. Amy's shelves held fabric animals, representations of species. She pointed to each: elephant, whale, panda, gorilla, sea turtle, each with facts about conservation. My class adopted a sea turtle, Amy explained. We send money to the program. They update us about our turtle. Her name is Marina. She's traveled over 3,000 miles. Ula detected genuine emotional investment. This child cared about a creature she would likely never see. On Amy's desk sat a small container with a slot in the top. Handwritten words decorated it. Save the elephants. Coins were visible inside. That's my donation jar, Amy said. Whenever I do extra chores or get birthday money, I put some in there. When it's full, Dad helps me send it to the elephant sanctuary. You give your resources to protect animals you will never encounter, Reth asked. Well, yeah, they need help. Just because I'll never meet them doesn't mean they're not important. Grace appeared in the doorway. Amy, it's almost bedtime. Why don't you get ready and our guests can join us in the living room? The young human nodded and moved to gather sleeping clothes from a storage unit. The aliens filed back downstairs, where David had prepared hot beverages for himself and Grace. Your daughter has strong feelings about animal welfare, Ula observed. Most human children do, Grace replied, settling onto the couch. They're naturally empathetic. They haven't learned to separate themselves from other living things yet. We try to encourage that empathy rather than suppress it. David activated a display screen mounted on the wall. We wanted to show you something. If you're trying to understand humanity's relationship with animals, you need to see this. Images appeared. Humans working with animals. A woman helping guide an aquatic mammal to deeper water. A man rescuing a feline from a tree. Teams transporting an elephant from drought areas. These are rescue operations, David explained. This happens daily worldwide. People dedicating their lives to helping animals in distress. More images. Humans treating injured birds, constructing crossing structures over roads, removing ocean trash, rehabilitating animals after disasters. But there is no profit in this, Reth stated. No resource gain. Why invest so much effort? Grace turned to look at him directly. Because we can. Because we have the ability to help, so we have the responsibility to do so. We're the most technologically advanced species on this planet. That doesn't give us the right to dominate. It gives us the obligation to protect. More images. A facility where humans cared for orphaned animal young, feeding them, teaching them survival skills, eventually releasing them back to wild areas. The time investment was enormous. The resource expenditure significant, all for creatures that would never provide tangible returns. We nearly destroyed this planet, David said quietly. A few hundred years ago, we were on track to cause a mass extinction event. We were hunting species to elimination, destroying habitats, polluting everything. We had to make a choice as a species. Keep going and lose everything, or change how we saw our relationship with the world. We chose to change, Grace continued. It's not perfect. We still have a long way to go. Species still go extinct. Habitats still get destroyed. But we're trying. And teaching the next generation, kids like Amy, to value all life, not just human life. The display screen now showed a graph. Species recovery data. Population numbers increasing for animals that had been nearly eliminated. Forests regrowing. ocean areas being designated as protected zones. It takes time, David acknowledged. Decades, centuries, but we're committed to it because Earth isn't just our planet. We share it with millions of other species. They have a right to exist, too. Bryn's crystalline structure hummed thoughtfully. Most advanced species in the galaxy left their homeworlds behind. They built artificial habitats in space, controlled environments. They considered natural worlds too chaotic and unpredictable to maintain. We've considered that path, Grace admitted. Space stations, colony ships. Some humans already live in orbital facilities, but the majority of us believe Earth is worth preserving, worth fighting for, not despite its chaos and unpredictability, but because of it. Amy came down the stairs, now wearing sleeping clothes. She went to her mother and Grace wrapped an arm around her daughter. The canine immediately moved to join them, resting its head on the couch near Amy. The feline appeared from wherever it had been and claimed a spot on the couch back. Even the rabbit emerged from its enclosure, hopping over to sit near the family group. One species, multiple families, all gathered together in comfort and trust. The Walsh family insisted the aliens stay longer. Amy retrieved a tablet and pulled up photographs. "These are animals we've fostered," she explained, scrolling through images. "Dogs, cats, rabbits, small rodents. That's Bailey. He was scared when he came. After 2 weeks, he learned to trust again. He got adopted by a family with 2 kids. That's Mist. She was pregnant. She had her kittens here. We kept them safe, then they all got adopted together." Ula watched the images. Each animal had a story. Each received care, then was released to others. "Does it not cause distress?" Ula asked, "forming attachments then severing them?" Grace smiled sadly. "It's hard every time. Amy cries when our foster animals leave. So do I, but we know they're going to good homes. By letting them go, we make room to help the next animal." Delayed gratification, Bryn translated. Accepting emotional difficulty in the present for greater positive outcomes in the future. "I guess so," David agreed. "But we also just think it's the right thing to do. There's a saying on Earth, be the change you want to see in the world. We can't save every animal, but we can save the ones in front of us." Amy yawned. Grace stood. "Time for bed, kiddo. Say goodnight." The young human approached each alien, offering a handshake. Her small hand touched each of them. "Thank you for visiting Earth," she said. "I hope you tell others we're nice and take care of our planet." "We will," Reth assured her. Amy smiled and moved toward the stairs. The canine followed. Grace went with them. David remained with the aliens, the feline now in his lap. "I know you have to file an assessment," David said. "Does humanity seem ready for galactic society?" Reth considered carefully. "Your technology is adequate. Social structures appear stable. As for threats, we are reconsidering what constitutes a threat." Ula spoke softly. "When we arrived, we perceived danger, predators in proximity, chaotic environments, but now we understand these are strengths we did not recognize." Bryn hummed harmoniously. "Most species pursue efficiency, order, control. They eliminate variables but lose resilience, adaptability, connection. Humans maintain complexity," Ula continued. "You keep relationships requiring effort, protect beings providing no material benefit, invest in outcomes you may never witness." David listened carefully. The feline in his lap purred, a rumbling vibration that seemed to echo Bryn's harmonic tones. "Is that good or bad?" David asked. "For our application." Reth's antennae moved in a gesture that approximated a human shrug. "It is different. The Council values predictability. Humans are not predictable, but perhaps that is what the galaxy needs." Upstairs, the sounds had quieted. Grace returned, speaking softly. "She's asleep. Rusty and Clover are with her. Pepper will probably join them soon." "Your daughter sleeps with the animals?" Bryn asked. "Has since she was little," Grace confirmed. Rusty has slept at the foot of her bed every night since we got him. He sees himself as her guardian, and she feels safer with him there. An apex predator, voluntarily protecting a juvenile of another species. No coercion, no training necessary, just instinct redirected through millennia of coevolution with humans. The aliens prepared to depart. David and Grace walked them to the door. Through the window, their shuttle was visible, waiting in the darkness. "Thank you for your hospitality," Reth said formally. "This visit has been highly educational." "Will you recommend us," David asked, "for council membership?" The three aliens looked at each other. Some communication passed between them that did not require words. "We will recommend provisional acceptance," Reth stated. "With ongoing cultural observation, humanity represents a unique approach to civilization. The galaxy should have the opportunity to learn from it." Grace smiled. "And maybe we can learn from you too. That's the whole point of joining the galactic community, right? Sharing knowledge and perspectives." Ula's suit glowed warm colors. "Yes, exactly that." They moved toward the shuttle. As they walked, Bryn turned back for a final look at the house. Through the window, he could see the soft glow of a nightlight from upstairs, the family safe inside, the animals resting peacefully, an impossible ecosystem functioning perfectly. Inside the shuttle, they began composing their report. Reth typed careful observations. Ula recorded emotional assessments. Bryn documented cultural patterns. But they also included something unusual for a council evaluation, a recommendation that went beyond simple approval or denial. They suggested that humanity's approach to other species represented a philosophical advancement that most galactic civilizations had never considered, that compassion across species barriers might be a survival trait rather than a weakness, that the ability to extend empathy to beings fundamentally different from yourself could be the key to true interstellar cooperation. They attached images to their report, the Walsh family together, the animals integrated into their home, Amy's room with its conservation posters, the backyard ecosystem, and finally, an image David had shared before they left. Amy asleep in her bed, the large canine curled at her feet, the feline nestled against her side, the rabbit tucked in the curve of her arm, predator and prey and human child all resting together in perfect trust. The report transmitted to the Galactic Council with a final note. Humanity has achieved what we thought impossible. They have turned evolution into choice and instinct into ethics. Recommend full observation and cultural exchange. We have much to learn from them. The shuttle lifted into the night sky, leaving Earth behind. But the three aliens knew they would return. There was too much here to understand in a single visit. And perhaps, Ula thought as the planet shrank below them, they might learn to see the universe the way humans did. Not as a collection of resources and threats, but as a home shared with countless others, all deserving of protection and care. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and for the first time, the galaxy seemed a little less lonely.